You woke up tired again. Not the kind of tired that goes away after a good night's sleep. The kind where you open your eyes in the morning, and your first thought is already exhausted. You go to work. You answer the emails. You smile at the right moments. You say, "I'm fine," so many times it doesn't even register as a lie anymore. And then you come home, close the door, and feel completely hollow, like you've been running on empty for so long you don't even remember what full felt like. If that's you right now, I need you to hear something really important. That's not depression. That's what happens when a human being has been carrying too much for too long, with no one noticing, including themselves. Here's what nobody tells you. Depression and exhaustion can look exactly the same from the outside. Same flat energy, same disconnection, same going through the motions life. But they are not the same thing. And treating them the same way, that's where most people get stuck for years. Because if you've been Googling your symptoms, reading articles about depression, wondering if something is clinically wrong with you, you might have been solving the wrong problem. In the next 8 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what emotional exhaustion actually is. The 6 signs that you're drained, not depressed, and the one shift that changes everything. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll know whether what you're feeling is burnout or something deeper. Why smart, strong, capable people are the most likely to hit this wall, and the real reason you can't just push through your way out of it. Let's get into it. There are 2 very different things happening when someone feels like they can't function. The first is clinical depression. It's a medical condition. It lives in the brain's chemistry. It can hit you even when your life is objectively going well, even when you have nothing to be sad about, even when you're on vacation, surrounded by people you love, and you still feel nothing. If that's what's happening, that requires professional support, and there is zero shame in that. Zero. But there's a second thing. Researchers call it emotional exhaustion. Some call it burnout. Some call it depletion. And it doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from somewhere very specific. It comes from giving for too long, more than you've been getting back. Here's the thing about emotional exhaustion that blew my mind when I first came across it. It doesn't hit lazy people. It doesn't hit people who don't care. It hits the ones who care the most. The ones who show up for everyone. The ones who push through. The ones who, on paper, have it together. Those are exactly the people who end up staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. wondering why they feel so completely empty. Sound familiar? I'm going to give you 6 signs that what you're dealing with is depletion, not depression. Be honest with yourself as we go through these. Sign number 1. You're tired no matter how much you sleep. You get 7 hours, 8 hours, maybe even 9, and you wake up feeling like you haven't slept at all. That's not a sleep problem. That's your nervous system telling you it hasn't had a real break. Not just physically, but emotionally. Your body went to sleep, but your mind never did. Sign number 2. Small things feel enormous. Someone sends you a slightly rude email, and it ruins your whole day. The dishes in the sink feel like a personal attack. A minor inconvenience makes you want to cry. When your tank is empty, you have no buffer. Everything lands harder than it should. That's not being too sensitive. That's a warning light. Sign number 3. You've stopped enjoying things you used to love. The show you loved, can't focus on it. The hobby you had, haven't touched it in months. The people you care about, you cancel plans and feel relieved when you do. Here's the key difference between this and depression. With depression, joy often feels completely inaccessible, like it doesn't exist anymore. With exhaustion, you can remember joy. You can imagine it. You just don't have the energy to reach it. Sign number 4. You're running on autopilot. You drive home and realize you don't remember the route. You nod along in conversations, but you're not really there. You go through the whole day, work, gym, dinner, bed, and feel like you weren't actually present for any of it. Psychologists call this dissociation light. It's your brain protecting itself by putting your consciousness on airplane mode. It's not a personality thing. It's a survival mechanism. Sign number 5. You feel guilty for being tired. This one is big, because you look at your life, and on paper it looks fine, maybe even good. You have a job, a place to live, people who love you, and yet here you are, exhausted and hollow. And so instead of getting help, you convince yourself you don't deserve to feel this way, that other people have it worse, that you should just be grateful. So you push it down and keep performing. That guilt? That is one of the biggest reasons emotionally exhausted people stay exhausted. They never allow themselves to stop. Sign number 6. Your body is keeping score. Headaches that come out of nowhere, tight chest, stomach issues, constant low-grade tension in your shoulders, getting sick more often than you used to. Your body and your emotional state are not separate systems. When your emotional reserves hit zero, your immune system, your digestion, your nervous system, they all start to break down. Your body is not betraying you. It's trying to get your attention. How many of those 6 hit? So if this is exhaustion, not depression, the real question is, where does it actually come from? Because it's almost never what people think. Most people think they're exhausted because they're busy. Too many tasks, too many responsibilities. If they could just get a vacation, a real one, they'd come back feeling like themselves. And then they go on vacation, and they still feel hollow. Because the exhaustion isn't coming from your schedule. It's coming from what you're carrying emotionally that never gets put down. Here's what actually drains people. Constantly managing other people's emotions. Pretending to be okay when you're not. Never asking for help because you don't want to be a burden. Saying yes when every part of you is screaming no. Living with unresolved tension in relationships. Things that were never said, never addressed, just buried. Researchers at UC Berkeley found something fascinating. It's not hard work that burns people out. It's the gap between how much you give and how much you feel seen, valued, or reciprocated. You can work 18-hour days on something you love and feel energized, but you can spend a single hour in a room where you feel invisible or unappreciated, and it wipes out an entire day's energy. That's the real math of depletion. And the hardest part, most emotionally exhausted people have been running this deficit for so long. They don't even know where it started. They just know they haven't felt like themselves in a long time. And they're starting to wonder if that version of themselves is ever coming back. Here's what I want you to know. That version of you isn't gone. They're just buried under everything you've been carrying alone. And getting them back doesn't start with a vacation. It doesn't start with a new productivity system. It doesn't start with pushing harder. It starts with 3 things. The first is radical permission. You have to stop treating rest as something you earn. Rest is not a reward for finishing everything. Because here's the truth, everything is never going to be finished. There will always be one more thing. If you're waiting until you've done enough to deserve a break, you will wait forever. Give yourself permission to be tired, not as a failure, as a fact. The second thing is an honest audit. Ask yourself, where is my energy actually going? Not your time, your energy. Because some activities refuel you, and some people drain you. And some obligations you've been carrying for years were never actually yours to carry. Write it down if you need to. Just get honest about the full picture. The third thing, and this is the hardest one, is learning to receive. Most chronically drained people are incredible givers, but they are terrible at receiving. Receiving help, receiving care, receiving a compliment without deflecting it. Because somewhere along the way, they learned that needing things was weak, or selfish, or too much. And so they give and give and give, and quietly starve. Healing from emotional exhaustion is not about doing less. It's about learning to let things flow both ways. You deserve to be refilled too. Not because you've earned it, because you're human. And humans run out. If this video described your life, I want you to sit with that for a second. Not to spiral, not to self-diagnose, just to acknowledge something real is happening. Something that has a name. Something that is not a personal failure. The fact that you found this video, that you watched it all the way through, that means a part of you is still fighting for yourself. Don't ignore that part. If this hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. They might be carrying more than you know. And if you want to go deeper on this, my next video is about why the people who seem the strongest are usually the ones suffering the most silently. I'll see you there.